Hi everybody, this is Talia from ASWC Craft, and today I am going to show you the first little section of my son Eli's Project Life album. And I wanted to talk to you about how you might like to cover the first few days of your baby's life, and how you might like to introduce the album, and we'll also have a talk about birth photos and how you might like to include those, or a birth story or something like that. So when we open up Eli's album, we open up to this 12 by 12 photo, which was his announcement photo. Now the announcement photo was actually, a landscape size in the normal dimensions, but I just trimmed it down to be 12 by 12 as I thought that would be a nice sort of look. And the problem you'll find if you use a 12 by 12 photo on the beginning is that on the other side you'll also have a 12 by 12 pocket page that you'll need to fill, and which isn't normally a problem, except that if you're doing the Project Lifestyle, then how do you start? And so the way that I've approached that is by making a full big insert and interactive sort of page. So you open up, and I've decided to focus the back side of the 12 by 12 sheet on Eli's birth and the first few photos that we have of him. Now we had a birth photographer, so I have a lot of photos that I want to include, but even if you didn't have a birth photographer, I'm sure you still have lots of photos of those first few hours and with different people, and depending on the time of day that your baby was born, all the different people who came to visit and all this sort of stuff. So what I've done is made this little flap, and this flap is really easy to make. I've just taken a second 12 by 12 sheet, plastic sleeve, and up the side, on the left hand side, I have sewn it. And then I've trimmed down a piece of craft cardstock, and then I have sewn up the other side of the 12 by 12 sheet and cut it off. And what I've done is sewn twice along there so that it looks more purposeful, and I've also used the coloured thread so that it looks like it's meant to be there, basically. So these photos that I've got on the front here are some of his first hour or two of being alive. So different people holding him, first feeding. This was our midwife. Just a whole bunch of different photos, which is nice. And then you open it up like this, the flap, and then this is where I've included the birth story. And now not everyone will want to include a birth story, but I think that's a nice thing to do, include how they were born. The thing that you might want to take into consideration is that your children, how much do you want them to read, and when will they be able to read this, and the details maybe of his birth are something that when he is having children he will want to know more about, or maybe he'll never want to know but his future wife might want to know. And so that's one story, and I have that story written out for my personal records and things like that. But what I've done is written a really kid-friendly story, and so I've made sure it haven't really talked about swearing or screaming or the pain, and not that I really think that it's that painful, but I haven't really talked about all of those things, or I haven't talked about like the fear and the worry, or all of those things that you think of. I have just made it really simple, and I just talked about things that I liked about the labour. So here it says, I love labouring outside with you. We walked around on the deck and it was nice to feel the cool breeze and hear the birds chirping. So that's the style of writing that I'm writing in this letter to him. And then what I've done is I've put little numbers in the birth story, and then I've included these photographs, which were also taken by a birth photographer, and included the little numbers so that when he's reading through, he can match up the story. So in here I talk about how it says, Daddy was so helpful the whole time I was in labour. He kept bringing me water, ice blocks and cold grapes. When I needed to lean on him, he was there, and when I needed to feel better, he read me Psalm 23 from the Bible. And it has a little 8, and then you can look across to the number 8 on this side, and it's the picture of Luke reading to me. Geez, I'm nearly crying just thinking about it. So that's sort of what I've chosen to do, to include a birth story into your child's album. So I haven't talked about blood and, you know, all of these, you know, gory sort of parts of childbirth. I've just kept it really nice and simple, but not making it fake either. I mean, it's all true, but yeah, just trying to keep it a bit G-rated, I guess. So if you didn't have birth photos, you could still include a birth story, and then you could just include more photos on this page, or you could not worry about the insert and just do it here. But I find lots of people have a lot of photos of those first few hours and things, so I've gone through a bit unconventionally. It means that I then have just one pocket page here. So what do I do then? You know, you end up with a funny thing of your weeks and where do you start your weeks and whatnot. He was born on a Tuesday, so you know, I still had part of the week to go. But what I've decided to do is just fill out these first few pages all with photos from the rest of that week, because I think you can be a bit flexible and a bit indulgent when you are dealing with the very first photos of you know, a child's life. There's all sorts of, you know, different people that they're meeting, and you know, all of these sorts of things that you want to document. And you know, when their little black disgusting umbilical cord stump falls off, you want to record that and different things that you did, and all those details. So I've just gone really flexible and included this whole section just from him being born. Then I've got 1, 2, 3 bits with a few insert photos as well, and I've got all of that just to see out the rest of the week. So then I can start on the proper weeks, and again, still more people to see. These weeks will be really full, and I've got double page spreads for all of these because we're still getting congratulations and doing things, lots of things for the first time still, and going through. And then I'll get to a point where things are a lot slowed down a bit and life is a bit more normal, and so I'm just doing, for the rest of the album, one side per week. So it's still in the project lifestyle, but I'm just doing it a lot more simply so that it gets done, and because otherwise you end up with a lot of photos in a really, really big album. So yeah, that's how I've approached birth photos in the first few days and weeks of your baby's life. It's definitely a very personal decision what you want to do with it, but hopefully this will give you some inspiration and ideas if you're not sure how you want to start your album. If you do a baby scrapbook, I'd love to see it. Share a link on our Facebook page or leave a comment.